So now the kind of next step with us coming together to build this idea is identifying a problem. And maybe we can kind of briefly talk about challenges that we see in our day-to-day lives or in healthcare or in our environments. There are other health problems or society-related issues that we hope to think through a little bit more. So does anyone have thoughts or things that friction points they see?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
So you're looking at me.
I was just looking all around, yeah.
So what comes to mind is mentoring one of my former students. He's trying to develop and raise money for it, actually, for a device that will help older people stay home or place this device in communities so physicians can get the data they need at the moment they need. One of the issues that group is trying to solve is basically older people usually are not that comfortable with some technologies. So this is a device, hard device. So they're going through a very specific thinking, which is, can we use user-centered and human design to solve workflows? And can we do clinical trials? Can we get HIPAA compliance? And can we get FDA approval for these kind of workflows? So I'm being captivated by that issue, and I think there is a lot of potential. And given the technologies where we are, i.e. AI, or the benefits of AI despite their challenges. So that's what's on my mind these days.
Oh, that's really interesting. And certainly a very relevant problem in today's world. I was also wondering and wanted to make sure we're inviting kind of perspectives and problems for everyone in the group too. So does anyone have ideas and thoughts?
I do. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about pain points on both sides. So I'm thinking about medical providers where you're supposed to see 20 patients in like a 4-hour gap. So thinking about medical AI, I think from earlier case study, but then also on the patient side, thinking that the provider is not listening to them. But in actuality, there's a two-sided problem where translation. So me as a doula, sometimes I'm the person in between that's translating what the physician is saying and what is the patient saying, and providing that opportunity where both can actually hear each other. And I was thinking about Danishe when you was talking about this earlier today, deep knowledge, right? So deep knowledge, understanding the pain points of the physician in the institution, but also understanding the pain points and the experiences of the patient, because both want something, right? But there's a disconnect. And so where's the happy medium? And also I'm bringing my policy hat in. So thinking in the arena, the tension, like the referee in between, but I don't want to call it referee, but.
Yeah, one of the kind of things that I'm hearing is communication or understanding like perspectives. So,
kind of communication or language barrier between the two.
And do you think that there's like other angles to like beyond like communication and language? In your perspective, what additional barriers do you think might exist?
In case of emergency healthcare, this would be a big barrier if, let's suppose, there is a certain emergency and the provider is operating some patient and they are using this. So let's suppose there is a agent that is in place which will help them to iterate through the previous problems that already had work been by that provider only or the other providers while he is treating that person. So before he sees some issues in the body part that is going to make a cut, and he asks the doula about his previous thing. So let's suppose he is speaking English and the doula he is speaking Spanish, and currently LLMs are trained in the English. So that is a big problem because this is a research project that's going into a university where they are trying to train the LLM to get communication through that AI agent in the emergency time. And And the issue that they are facing is when it comes to Spanish, the same LLM starts understanding it very badly. While if they speak in English, then it understands properly, it also answers properly. But when they start speaking in Spanish, it does not understand because most of his training is already done in English.
Right.
And then when they get the answers, the doctors from the Spain are telling that we don't get proper answers. It gives us haywire like answers. It's not relevant, and so this is the major issue that happened. And if in the emergency time that this is the issue, that
Then we are
some lag
losing
might
time.
happen because the LLMs are taking more to process.
The doctors may lose their
Right.
precious time in saving the lives.
Yeah, so the doctors are liking that product, but they are not liking the efficiency and the accuracy. So there's a big hurdle that the university is trying to address.
Right. And so, Leah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you need to narrow down.
Yeah.
Like, it's so nebulous what you're trying to do with the company.
Yeah.
So I think we need to come up with a use case and see if we could develop a product that will actually, so moving away from AGI or all-purpose agent, I think is the right strategy.
Yes.
So you have to
Yeah.
be very, very focused and specific. And then you need to figure out, because most of the time it's a domino effect. Like, you cannot just fix one thing. What are the other problems that particular problem is connected to? Because most of the time you can do this, but it doesn't matter because there are other things that will bypass that, and in the end, there's no impact.
Right. And I think one of the things I'm kind of seeing that could be specific, in my eyes is specific, is the information retrieval aspect of it, where, you know, understanding how to the decisions are being made by the providers and the patients, but one of the challenges is that we might not be able to effectively be retrieving the information from the patients due to cultural differences, value differences, time constraints, or challenges there. And one, you know, I'm not gonna just like jump in and say here's what you should do, but like one of the things I think about is like oftentimes when I have elderly patients or patients that might not speak English very well, there's sometimes another person in the room, and that person may, you know, what's really helpful at times, especially if they're in healthcare and they really understand, you know, this person's life, so my patient's life. They speak my patient's language, they speak my patient's culture, but they also speak the language of the physician, but it's not two distinct entities. And so, you know, one of the things I'm seeing in healthcare is like we're building tools for the doctors, we're now building tools for the patients, like that guy that won the Anthropic Challenge, he's a cardiologist, but no one's really kind of building tools that serve both, that are there to help both in the same tool.
That's a system issue, right? The question is, you know, you need to focus on one specific, to your point, problem and who's going to pay for it. I mean, I have a good friend of mine here in the Bay Area developing what you just mentioned. You know, you have the providers scribe, AI scribe, but it is capturing everything on the patient side. So I'm saying on the provider side, this company basically is raising money, and they have a pretty interesting model going the other way around, which is, let me just give that tool, to your point, to the patients and to the caregiving team. So what's going to happen here is both people are going to walk out of that session, that appointment, with different contexts. Is there a way to merge those, and how does that work?
So one thing that we've been thinking of is completely reimagining the patient encounter, where they start recording using an AI scribe at home with the patient surrounded by her husband and the grandchildren, because most of the time the grandma goes there and she forgets everything. And no one, like, she would be accompanied by a grandchild. So the idea here is to get as rich a history as possible with the patient surrounded by close relatives and friends, and then synthesize that into something that is more structured, and then review that again with the family and the doctor and the nurse. So now it's no longer see the nurse first, take the vital signs, and then see. You go there, one package. The doctor is there, the nurse is there, the doula is there if the patient is pregnant, the social worker is there. And they review now the storytelling that happened at home and put that into bullet points. And then AI will suggest these answers are, I think, require more nuance. And can you discuss this now with the whole health team?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and it's part of the workflow. We're used to getting a pre-onboarding email, right? Say, fill this before your appointment. So
It's
it
always
makes
like
sense that it's not a
boxes,
form.
yeah.
It's a whole community.
And they
data.
speak in their first language,
Yeah, and
not
a
not
whole-
in
This is what
English.
I was talking in the morning. Like
Yeah.
these type of personal communications will help us gain a knowledge which any EHR record or a health record or any lab report will not give. They just give us the result, but the reasons because of which it is happening, which they are reflecting on the report, will be driven based on this communication. Like, was there a like environment of attention, or was there a like a fight? Why the person's BP was high? Some issues like that can be tracked down. So whenever there is some contradictory communication in the house, at that time this person starts sweating. She feels drowsy. So such type of scribing can help us to get down to some things that normal reports cannot give us.
I'm gonna smile now, and sorry about that. So I'm thinking you guys need an agent that talks to that, and then an agent on the scribe to the provider, and then have the two agents talking to each other to facilitate both encounters.
Right.
So, and incentives are aligned because I'm bringing my own solution, and it's patient facing, and it's optimized for the patient, while the other one is optimized for the clinician. Nice.
And both agents are there during the patient visit.
Yes, and then you put a compliance or governance agent to make sure that, you know, PHI and HIPAA and all these things are getting, yeah, that's it.
And you
Beautiful
archive all
solution.
the information, because what
Yes.
happens is we summarize,
Right.
and then you lose the richness of information.
Yes,
But somehow, just for future use, that richness might be important.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right. It's a way to Katya.
You all are basically talking about what we're building.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
tell us.
I was not speaking, Katya.
She's bound by NDA.
Ah.
No, but yeah, but Leah, what you was just talking about, that being surrounded by your family members, right? And just having that level of transparency so that the patient can feel, my clients, I want them to feel held, right? Beyond me leaving, I want to know that you know that I have your back wherever I go. And I was just thinking about the continuity of care. And so, yeah, I think in a genic system, the historical record context is exponential. And if we already have a workflow that is recording the patient encounter when you're seeing your provider, why couldn't there be what is it? That workflow that translates over into the patient engagement, so that that translation before, like, doctor talked about this, and this, but maybe if the patient didn't actually hear that inside of the visit, that agenic system can translate that into something, here are things for them to consider when they go home, and then they can discuss it as a family unit or whatever their support system is. Yeah, I love it.
I like the idea of two agents actually in the middle, because they're both translator, but one is focused more on the clinical aspect, one is focused more on the non-clinical aspect, which is much more important when it comes to health outcomes. Okay, we shouldn't have a lot of time because we need
Yeah.
to represent this, and then
so we have about like 5 more minutes, 4
Oh,
more minutes.
that's a long
yeah.
time.
But this two-agent
just-
system
yeah.
also comes with like lot of complexity, because in the IT organizations there is DevOps team, there is like DB team, there is then development team and testing team. So every team has now the AI agent, and when the critical issue happens, so the before the developer investigates, the two agents talk to each other about that issue. So the thing happens that the context is limited for any of the agent. The memory it can hold and the context it can work with is limited.
Yeah.
So that is causing lot of issue. So they go, a simple configuration change was there and the agents were talking to each other and recommending code changes to each other for 30 minutes. So if this becomes the issue and this is not addressed, then there is no point of having a two agentic system. So that complexity is like 80% of what the problem we are talking about. If that is in place, then everything is as a
The
solution.
bigger problem is
Yeah.
the training corpus.
Training
Yeah.
corpus.
Oh my God! Like what training corpus are going to be using, and then the validation is going to be a bitch.
Big
Like, how do you know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
So
Yeah.
that's why you need
Context.
3 agents, not 2. So you need the compliance, governance layer. And you need the
If we don't
developer.
stop, you will be like,
Yeah.
there's a 12th agent.
No, but think about it. You need
Yeah.
somebody to break the tie.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that they're optimizing. Have the what's our goal?
Yeah.
Is it to optimize which side and what are all these rules that needs to be compliant and human in the loop? End of the day, the clinician should be making the calls, none of the agents.
Yeah.
But by the time the clinician
But
is gonna say-
sometimes the agents should maybe make the decisions because
But-
humans are so biased
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
That's the
but
problem.
which decisions you want that to make? Not all of them, right? You want critical decisions
that
that impact
guardrails.
humans to be somebody, because that's, when it's like when you fly in a plane,
Right.
you put the co-pilot, end of the day,
Right.
something happens, the pilot is responsible.
Right.
So,
This
Uh,
is zero.
no.
So, Katya, go ahead.
yes,
I think the patient should make the decision because it's their body and their decision at the end of the day, whether or not they want to say yes to what's being proposed.
But
No, see,
sometimes
they're communicated by the doctor only. Na? They'll be deciding on both agents and then they'll communicate to the patient that this is what we have gathered. Now you decide.
So it's now taking autonomy away for stripping the decision making in the moment, is it? Like, how do we still retain? Yeah, like how do we still give them all the options, but then
Options,
talk
yeah.
about more of the
More.
pros and
agents
cons?
can be like explainable AI
Yeah.
and like summarization AI, but they
Yeah.
cannot be
Yeah.
a suggestive AI because if that
But
suggests-
sometimes they have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes a
But we can
suggestion
put the
coming from the.
guardrails.
Yeah. Also, we have 60 more seconds
Okay.
to figure out the
Right.
data sources. We also have to figure out the revenue model and then clarify who the target users are, which I guess we've done. So those are the 2 last sections. So if you guys want to chat about that, I'm going to go
Yeah.
remind everyone. And
What
then-
are the two?
So the data sources that we have, so we've talked about the problem, we talked about the solution. Where are we getting our data from to identify, to train and build these systems? And then also the revenue model. How will we sustain this? Who's paying for it?
so the answer is yes.
So,
I mean, insurers
60 seconds.
and health system somehow.
Yeah.
I
Like
think.
it is in the already insurance system.
Yes,
partly
yes.
by the patient and partly by the hospital, the insurance company.
Yes, the insurance company
But
and
they
and
both
the
have
and yes.
The resources they are already putting in the insurance, some part goes in the building agent for the
Plus the
patient.
health system is also
Health
making money,
system.
right?
So I would argue that, yes, I think what I've seen out there is hospitals are already paying for the service, right? They have AI scribes,
Yeah.
so they are paying for that. And then this company that I mentioned, local startup, they're monetizing the data, the identified data. So they're providing these agents to patients for free to prepare them for the visits, and then they monetize. So the complexity, I think, is for the hospital to make sure they interact via API, whatever, with the patient's agent. So I see it as a, not either or, but both, 2 ways to monetize the system.
I mean, the hardest part again is the validation. Like, how do you know it's doing what you think it's doing? So you need people to be reviewing.
Yeah.
That is
It's
a
like
lot
the
of
guardrails are very complex here.
validation is complex and
Yes.
time
I
consuming.
would give it to university students actually.
We are
That will
doing
be their
that.
homework.
There you go.
Yeah.
Uncompensated labor, huh?
No, it's
Correct.
compensated by their grades. So this is what they're graded
Oh,
on.
there you go. Okay,
So
now
head
we're
back
talking.
upstairs. Who's choosing the pitch? Not me, not Leo. One of you guys.
Someone describe what
Yeah.
you're doing to the.
Yes.
You guys- yeah.
These are not.
Yeah,
Like, to me,
Katya,
I
you're
don't
also
believe
welcome
in
to.
IP ideas. Like ideas are a dime a dozen. It's how you execute it.
Exactly.
The thinking.
Yeah, and Katya, you're also welcome to if you're interested.
Yes.